2, 3. Welcome to The Sounding. We aim to provide sexual trauma survivors with a path to healing in order to tell their stories. Before we get started, we just like to offer our disclaimer. We are not therapists, we're not doctors, we're not lawyers. So
we're not experts in the field of healing.
We're just here to share information through our experiences and also bringing in experts so they can share their information with you. So be sure to check out our interview series. Today's episode is all about
rape culture. So we talked about grooming in our last episode, which then leads us to rape culture. So rape culture is the idea that a culture or environment trivializes and normalizes sexual assault and rape in such a way that we are no longer affected by it. So we see it on the screens, we listen to it in music, read it in books. Rape culture surrounds us everywhere. Sexualization of children surrounds us everywhere. And as a result, we as a society have turned a blind eye to it. Rape actually...
And have become desensitized.
Desensitized, absolutely. That's an important thing too. And you know, as a child in my household, I was allowed to watch anything at any age. And so that was part of the grooming on top of the desensitization of, butchered that word, of rape and sexual assault. Just made it easier for me to be a target growing up because I didn't see these things as bad or scary. They became very comfortable to me. And in that comfort, I allowed a lot of things to happen to me that created a very traumatized individual. And that's why I take my healing so very seriously, because I want to find joy in life, and I never had that opportunity. And I want to help other people find joy in life too, with really understanding what has been done to us in American culture, more than a lot of cultures for sure. So it's interesting because as we started talking about this, Shea and I realized that rape is almost a swear word in this country, and that's a shame.
We were worried. Well, I know I was talking to Dena before we started recording just about how we need to maybe be mindful about the words that we use and having to censor them or whisper them. But here we are. Yeah. I just wanted to share that because it was even a conversation on how do we even talk about rape culture without getting shadow banned, essentially.
Right, and that's the scary thing. We should all be willing to talk about this because even if it hasn't happened to you, if you're a man out here watching these, you need to start thinking about the women in your life. I often tell men that it is their responsibility to help end this culture, because if you've ever been at a party and you've watched a young woman that was a little drunk be taken into a back room, you may be part of rape culture. If you've ever been in a car and watched men hoot and holler, like, would you want that to happen to your daughter or your mother? We need to start calling each other out on this stuff, and women can't do that alone, and certainly children don't have a voice. So it's up to the strong men in this country to really speak up and start recognizing how much women have been used and abused and trivialized and sexualized. And now it seems to be even easier for it to be happening to children, you know, as we dress them up and put makeup on them and make them seem older than they are. We really need to get back to basics and find some value in sexual experience. It is a beautiful thing, but it's not when there's violence involved. It's not when there's secrecy involved. And that's the part why we have such a society of traumatized people.
I think we need to find value. I like the way you said that. Find value in the fact that we are sexual beings, but also find value in the innocence of our childhood.
Yes, yeah. So, I mean, it's once you've been traumatized, as many of you know, it's very hard to find peace and innocence in life because it's been taken from you. And so we want to start helping people understand it, and so that they can raise the next generation to not normalize these things, to identify it, to hear it in the songs. Don't just sing words without understanding what they mean. You know, really take a listen to it. Watch some of the movies that you grew up watching. I know that there's a lot of movies that I can't even watch anymore because I'm so impacted by it, the in-your-face sexualization and violence that happens. So, you know, we've discussed possibly coming up with the term GRAPE culture, which is combining grooming and rape, to try to speak about it, and not in a funny way, because there's nothing funny about this, but because we don't want to be shadow banned. We want to get our message out there. We want you to help us get our message out there because it's an important message. So GRAPE culture is something that we have certainly been discussing, and perhaps when we try to get these laws impacted, do get these laws impacted, then maybe they do need to be GRAPE culture laws, because that's the only way we're going to change society, is if we all band together and really start taking this very seriously.
Yeah. So you're going to hear us talk more about GRAPE culture throughout all the rest of our videos. GRAPE culture is, like Dena said, the combining of the word grooming into the word rape, because we need to acknowledge that this is a huge piece of our own culture, and we need to talk about it. We're barely able to say the word rape. Well, we need to also say the word groom. And so, and I feel like for us and our videos and what we're doing here with the sounding, we just really want to make sure that we're constantly talking about grooming alongside of rape and sexual trauma, because grooming needs to be something that we're holding people accountable for, because it is an actual act of assault. They can be acts of assault. So,
and when we did talk about grooming in the first video, we mentioned that it happens to children, that it can happen to adults. What we didn't mention is that it happens in families. I mean, we all have those uncles that think it's cute to smack you on your butt or say something sexually inappropriate, or, you know,
I do not.
Not everybody does, but I think a lot of people, or a family friend, and it's just, oh, that's just who that person is, and it's not acceptable. So
the thing is grooming happens right under our nose, and groomers are good at it, and there are actual organizations out there that you can find online who actually they're doing work that stands up against this grooming culture that we've created. So we're just doing our part to further that message of grooming needs to stop, as well as everything else, because it's the gateway. It's the doorway.
It is.
So moving through that doorway, what happens when you have a society that is raised desensitized to GRAPE culture, or is raised in GRAPE culture, is we have things like PTSD, right? Post-traumatic stress disorder. Within that, today's episode, we want to talk about specifically hypervigilance, and then a piece of that is looping. So two different things, and we'll probably create 2 more videos to talk specifically about hypervigilance and looping, and we can do more work on those separately. But this idea of hypervigilance, I'm sure we all have experienced it. If you're coming here to watch these videos, we know very well the feeling of being on high alert 24/7, being able to see the worst that could happen and plan for that. Staying on edge because you're unsure of what is around the corner. When we are stuck in that state, that is essentially being stuck in fight or flight. And when we are constantly in that state, it programs our whole system that way, right? So even our pathways, this is the insert of the looping, our pathways get programmed to stay on high alert. So how do we first become aware of that? Well, maybe you take a scan throughout your life and see really how safe you feel moving through your day.
Are you present for conversations? Are you present? Like, I know
right.
For the first few decades of my life, I didn't notice things like the trees blooming or the birds, or when people were talking to me my mind was looping, or I was worried about something else happening, that I just wasn't able to be fully present in life. And so you miss out a lot, and as a result, your nervous system is never settled.
Yeah, so of course our videos are always short and sweet, and I would love to talk more about this, but I think it's just a good segue to move right into a practice.
And again, like we've said in the other videos, a lot of this stuff is out there, that people that are talking specifically about those things. So please look up other videos, look up these terms, and start to identify which ones, that you can really see in your own day-to-day life.
Yeah. So we want to share the practice of mindfulness today with you, in complement of, or to help ease and recover from states of hypervigilance or looping. Mindfulness, the practice today that I'm going to share with you, specifically with the 5 senses, we're going to use our 5 senses. Mindfulness can be a great tool because it's a meditation where it becomes a single focus, and when you're focused in on, say, your sense of sound, you're not necessarily looping on thoughts, because you're able to listen for the crickets that are in my house. And then I can listen for cars outside, and then my focus is that. So we're going to try that today, and hopefully you're able to, in real time, practice with us and feel what it feels like to just take a break from being in a state of fight or flight or hypervigilance or looping. So you can stay right where you are. You don't have to get anything except for your own open heart and mind, which you already have because you're here. And like I said, we're going to work with our 5 senses. So that's smell, sight, taste, touch, and sound. So when you're ready, you can either gently close your eyes or take a soft gaze. And then we'll just start with taking an intentional breath. So a nice inhale and a nice exhale, sigh it out. All right, and then slowly tune or shift your attention to your sense of sound. So noticing immediate sounds, maybe my voice or sounds in your space. And then see if you can notice sounds in the distance. So for us, there's a train in the background that I hear. Maybe you could hear birds outside. Now you're going to shift to your sense of touch. Maybe you actually rub your hands together, or place them on your heart space, or notice where you're sitting, where you're connected to. Maybe you actually grab your clothing and feel the texture of your clothing. And then when you're ready, you're going to shift your attention now to your sense of smell. So take a couple of nice inhales and really see if you can notice any smells. Or you just notice your ability to breathe in through your nose. Maybe you're a little stuffy. And then now shift to your sense of taste. Maybe take a swallow. Maybe you're able to taste what you're eating right now while watching this video, or you taste your lunch or breakfast or dinner, or maybe now I'm making you hungry. And then the last one, your sense of, I think that was 4. Let's see. We did sound, touch. Yep, last one is your sense of sight. So when you're ready, you can either keep your eyes closed or open, but shift to your sense of sight and see if you can notice things like different colors or textures or shapes, shadows. Maybe you notice things, if your eyes are open, you notice things close up and things in the distance. And then go ahead and let all of that go. Take a nice deep breath in, raise your shoulders up to your ears on the inhale. Exhale, soften them down. And then gently open your eyes, make some movements. And that was probably a little less than a 5-minute meditation where hopefully your focus was on just your 5 senses. And hopefully it gave you a little ease, a little space distance, and now you can go on with the rest of your day feeling more centered and grounded.
Yeah. And breathing. I know we did that last week and we touched on it a little bit, but anytime you feel hypervigilant or looping, like just getting into your own breath, Shea definitely taught me that, really can change the scenario of how you react. And that's really the whole intention of this, is to get you to be reacting in a more peaceful, grounded state rather than, trauma responses.
And we'll do a whole great series on the impact and power of the breath. Hopefully we'll be able to bring in someone who's done a lot of breath work studies. I've done a lot. It's hard to find certifications out there for breathing. I was certified through yoga and mindfulness, and that's where I learned a lot of the pranayama practices that have really been helpful in healing, and the mindfulness. Just follow the breath, follow the inhale and the exhale. So I think it'll do us, I think you guys will really enjoy a whole video on breath. So
absolutely. So, all right. Well, that wraps it up today. So please, I know that I always found this annoying, but now that we're doing our own channel,
no, it's not
understand to like, subscribe, and share.
Comment. Please let us know what you want to see, what you have questions about. This isn't, again, like we said in the beginning, we're not the experts. We don't have all the answers. And maybe we haven't even thought of things that people are having questions too. So let's really create this community and lean on each other and
open up the conversation.
Create some change. Yeah.
Because when survivors speak,
the silence ends.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good job.
Number 3.
Oh, we should have sat longer. Shit. It's okay.